President Donald Trump hosted Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy and a host of European leaders at the White House for a high-stakes summit aimed at charting a course toward resolving the ongoing war in Ukraine. The meetings, which included separated one-on-one talks between Trump and Zelenskyy, as well as a larger multilateral gathering, were marked by a stated desire from all parties to end the conflict that has raged over 3 years. However, the discussions also highlighted differing perspectives on the best path forward, particularly concerning the sequencing of a ceasefire and a final peace agreement. A central theme that emerged from President Trump's public remarks was a firm insistence on achieving a durable, long-term peace rather than a temporary fix. We're going to make sure that if there's peace, the peace is going to stay long-term. This is very long-term. We're not talking about a 2-year peace and then we end up in this mess again, Trump stated, emphasizing his goal of a lasting resolution. This sentiment was echoed in various forms throughout the day, signaling a potential shift in the administration's strategy from seeking an immediate cessation of hostilities to architecting a more comprehensive and enduring settlement. The summit came on the heels of President Trump's recent meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Alaska, a meeting that appeared to significantly influence the White House approach. Following those talks, Trump indicated a preference for moving directly toward a peace agreement, a position that aligns with Moscow's stated desire and has caused some apprehension among European allies. These allies have traditionally favored a ceasefire as a prerequisite for substantive peace negotiations, a measure intended to halt the bloodshed and create a more conducive atmosphere for diplomacy. The gathering of European leaders in Washington was a deliberate show of unity with Ukraine and a clear signal of their deep investment in the outcome of any peace process. The delegation included French President Emmanuel Macron, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, Finnish President Alexander Stubb, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, and NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte. Their presence underscored the continental implications of the conflict and their desire to ensure that any agreement safeguards not only Ukraine's security, but also that of Europe as a whole. As British Prime Minister Keir Starmer noted, when we talk about security, we're talking about the security not just of Ukraine, we're talking about the security of Europe and the United Kingdom as well. This sentiment was a common thread among the European contingent, who are keen to avoid a scenario where a hastily crafted deal leaves the continent vulnerable to future Russian aggression. The discussions at the White House covered a wide range of complex and sensitive issues, including the crucial matter of security guarantees for Ukraine. President Zelenskyy has long maintained that meaningful and robust security assurance from Western powers are essential for any lasting peace. He articulated this position clearly during the meeting, stating that his goal was to secure everything he could from the United States in terms of a security arrangement. This includes not only political commitments, but also tangible supports in the form of weapons, training, and intelligence to build a strong Ukrainian army capable of deterring future attacks. President Trump, for his part, acknowledged the necessity of U.S. involvement in such guarantees, stating that the United States would be involved to some degree alongside its European partner. He indicated that Russian President Vladimir Putin had, in their Alaska meeting, agreed in principle to Russia accepting security guarantees for Ukraine, a development Trump hailed as a very significant step. Special U.S. Envoy Steve Witkoff later elaborated that Putin had agreed to allow the U.S. and its European allies to offer Ukraine a security guarantee resembling NATO's Article 5 Collective Defense Clause. This revelation was a key point of discussion, as it would represent a major concession from Moscow and could provide the foundation for a durable security architecture for Ukraine outside of formal NATO membership, a long-standing Russian red line. However, the specifics of these guarantees, including the potential for American troop commitments, remain a subject for further negotiation. Trump was non-committal on the deployment of U.S. force, indicating it would be a topic for discussion with the European leaders. The question of territorial concession also loomed large over the talks. Reports preceding the summit suggested that President Trump was prepared to back a plan that could involve Ukraine ceding territory, specifically the Donbas region, to Russia in exchange for peace. This prospect has been a source of significant concerns for Kyiv and its European partners, who have consistently advocated for the principle that international borders should not be changed by force. During the White House meetings, Trump publicly stated the need to discuss the possible exchange of territory, a phrase that did little to assuage these concerns. Ukraine, however, has remained steadfast in its rejection of any deal that would require it to surrender its sovereign territory. The divergence on the necessity of a ceasefire prior to a final peace agreement was another prominent point of discussion. President Trump, reflecting a shift in his position following the Alaska summit, downplayed the need for an immediate halt to the fighting. "I don't think you need a ceasefire," he remarked, suggesting that a peace deal could be negotiated while the conflict continues. This stance was met with resistance from some of the European leaders. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, for example, directly challenged this view, stating, "I can't imagine that the next meeting would take place without a ceasefire." French President Emmanuel Macron also voiced support for a truce in a necessity to stop the killing. The debate over the sequencing of these steps highlight the complex diplomatic maneuvering at play. For Russia, a direct path to a comprehensive peace agreement without a preceding ceasefire could be advantageous, allowing them to negotiate from a position of continued military pressure. For Ukraine and its allies, a ceasefire is seen as a vital humanitarian step and a necessary de-escalation to build trust and facilitate more meaningful negotiations. Despite these differing viewpoints, the overall atmosphere of the meetings was described as more positive and constructive than previous encounters between the Trump administration and the Ukrainian leadership. Zelenskyy himself characterized his one-on-one meeting with Trump as the best one yet, noting that they had discussed sensitive points, including security guarantees, in a very positive manner. This improved rapport was a welcome development, particularly after reportedly acrimonious meeting between the two leaders in February. President Trump expressed optimism about the potential for a breakthrough, suggesting that a trilateral meeting with President Putin could be on the horizon if the current talks prove successful. "If everything works out well today, we'll have a trilat, and I think there will be a reasonable chance of ending the war when we do that," he stated. He also indicated that he would be speaking with Putin by phone following the conclusion of the White House summit. The path forward remains fraught with challenges. The fundamental disagreement over territory and the sequencing of a ceasefire and peace deal will require significant diplomatic effort to overcome. European leaders are keenly aware of the need to present a united front and to ensure that any final agreement does not come at the expense of Ukraine's sovereignty or long-term security. French President Emmanuel Macron's call for a four-way summit, including the Europeans, in addition to the US, Russia, and Ukraine, reflects this desire for a broader, more inclusive negotiation process. The coming days and weeks will be critical in determining whether the momentum generated at the White House summit can be translated into a tangible and lasting peace. The discussions have laid bare the complex web of interest and perspective at play, but they have also opened a potential, albeit narrow, path toward ending Europe's most devastating conflict since the Second World War. The emphasis on a long-lasting deal over a 2-year peace sets a high bar for success, but it also reflects a shared understanding that a temporary respite is not enough to secure a stable and peaceful future for Ukraine and the wider European continent. The world now watches to see if these ambitious goals can be achieved. Many of my listeners, like 70%, haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, and so many of you don't even know that you haven't subscribed, and that is actually what makes the show going. It's almost like you're making a donation to the show. So that's why I ask again and again, because it enables us to grow and grow and grow. And we're going for the long haul here. And listen, if this is your first time listening to World Global Conflict, you don't have to subscribe. You guys, your first one's on me. But if you have watched this show before, it's like you are freeloaded now. So all I would ask you is, if you have seen the show before and you like it, help me, help my team here. Hit that subscribe and like button now, and we will continue to build this show for you. That I swear. Thank you to all of you guys who have subscribed. It means a lot to me. Thank you so much. That's all for me for today. I will see you soon. Bye for now.